Hey everyone, welcome back to Citywide Blackout, your home for music, movies, and more. I'm your host, Max Bowen. Well, this episode is one I've been looking forward to for a while. Arechan, the writer and artist behind the Webtoon title LUFF, joins me to give you, the listeners, a look at every aspect of the world of this amazing comic. We talk about the world building that went into it, the characters and how they've changed over the course of 89 episodes, as well as fan reaction and how it once influenced the story. For this episode, folks, guys, I am beyond psyched about this. As you all know, I'm a huge Webtoon fan. If you don't know, it's a free app. You download it to your phone, your tablet, read it on your PC, webcomics from around the world. And right now, I am joined by the creator of the very popular LUFF comic. Arechan joins me. Arechan, thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be a lot of fun. I am very happy to be talking to you right now.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
All right. Yeah, we've actually been talking prior to the interview, just kind of nerding out hardcore about this stuff. So I'm going to give you all a quick overview as to this comic. And Arechan, definitely chime in if I blow it, but I hope I will get this one right. So,
okay.
Folks, are you tired of dating apps that feel like they're in control of your love life? Well, get ready, because in the not too distant future of LUFF, a large worldwide conglomerate has created the ultimate romance matchmaking app. How powerful is LUFF? Well, folks, you gotta read the comic to find out, because it controls everything. I want to talk about world building, because the world of LUFF is so complex and diverse and well put together and detailed. How much time did you spend on this before you even began writing the series?
Oh, well, I spent a lot of time to thinking about it, because actually it's the first thing that I did. I did the world building first and the story second. So the whole thing is based a little bit on personal experience, because I grew up in Mexico, and it's interesting growing up as a woman in Mexico. There is a lot of pressure, social pressure, to get married or to get a boyfriend or stuff like that. So I have a lot of friends who are very capable women who have their own businesses, who speak 5 languages, who they're having the time of their lives. And if I talk with my parents or their parents about them, all they say is "Oh, poor things, they're not married yet, or they don't have a boyfriend yet." And it's whoa, well, yeah, but she has her business, so she's doing great. And it's no, but she's so alone. And I'm So kind of growing up, many women experience that thing in Mexico. So I've seen it all. I've seen people get married just to get out of that, the first guy who comes in, they're okay, I'll get married just to stop this. And then they end up divorced, or they end up in a bad relationship that they don't want to leave, because they don't want to live with the stigma of being a single woman. So I was thinking about all that, and then I started thinking, what would happen if the government did this too? What would happen if the government only cared about your relationship status? If you had to pay different brackets of taxes, if depending on your relationship status, if the chances your children have for education or work depended on your marriage or your relationship with someone else. And then I started building this whole thing in my mind, what would happen with divorces? What would happen with people who never get married? What would happen with people who single mothers, for example, or teen moms or stuff like that? What would happen? And then when I created this system, I started thinking, wow, I want to tell a story about this. I want to tell a story about what happens when a society puts your relationship status first and then your life second. Like you're like, what kind of world would that bring? What kind of people would grow up in that society? Like, what would they think? What kind of decisions would they make? So I started making all that with the world building, right? So I remember I went I went with my husband to our favorite tea house, and we sat down and we started having the weirdest conversation ever, and I could see people like eavesdropping and stuff. They were like and we were like, so how would divorce law work? Maybe like bankruptcy law, like if you have like a period of time, a type of divorce gives you a period of time to like, and we built it all. Like, I think we fall a little bit short on exploring that. We kind of did with the teacher, but we kind of, I wish we had gone a little bit deeper on that, but we just spent a whole evening in that tea house, just like building like this house of blocks, and just like playing around and thinking about taxes and thinking about school applications and like a lottery for like students and all these things. It was so much fun. Like that was a really fun evening.
In a world where your relationship status actually determines your outcome, I'd be doomed. I'd be destroyed. How does the LUFF system work, though? How does a dating app wind up having that kind of control over all these different aspects of your life? Can I walk us through the whole system, please?
So the whole thing is this: there's supposed to be like this organization, let's say, that found out that the fingerprints matched the more successful the pair in the couple, the more their fingerprints matched. So they started doing like research on that, and when they had definitive data, they were like, oh, okay. So the whole idea is that little by little it started like seeping into the government and stuff, like how high your score was determined that, because on the theory of that, happy people are better workers, are like more productive members of society, are less likely to go into crime, et cetera, et cetera. And under that kind of train of thought, under that kind of mentality, they slowly went gaining more and more importance. And like, okay, so the people who have a better score are going to pay less taxes, so it's more motivating to have a higher score, So the whole idea is that when you reach legal age, which in law is 22, so that you can finish your whole career first, your major first, you go to the offices of LUFF to get your fingerprints taken. And it's very much like when you go to the DMV or something and you get your fingerprints and stuff. Yes. So they have a database, and they can compare your fingerprints to others, and they're supposed to give you like a list of people, like, but you can kind of curate the list, like if you want to date a vegan person, or like if you're a bisexual, or let's say you have a religion you prefer to practice and stuff, like you can curate it kind of when you're feeling your application. Like when B was feeling hers, the lady was asking her that, and she was like, no, I'm fine, it's okay, I don't have a preference for like dietary or religion, it's fine. Then they get a list, and so it's supposed to that you can choose. The government gives you the illusion of choice in this matter, because they tell you, yes, sure, you can choose, but if you know that your life is going to be better with the higher you match, you immediately are going to find the highest and just match with that. Like, unless you are, let's say, Julian's dad, who chose his wife, even though they had a 15% score. But the freedom is there, and I think that's what separates it, what makes it not feel really like a dystopia, because they're not assigning it to you. They're giving you the choice, but are they really?
And this story focuses on the three characters, Beatriz, Julian, and Danielle. She has a 97% match with these two guys, which is, I guess, from what I'm seeing, unprecedented to have that kind of match to people. And these two people, Julian and Danielle, could not be more different if you tried. And I love that. Julian, good kid from, unfortunately, a challenging neighborhood, but he works hard, loves his parents. Daniel, wow, poor Daniel. His parents are, I think Trainwreck actually describes it well enough. Very rich family, never wanted for anything. And she's got to choose one of them because her career, which she wants to, and her career is that she wants to work as an aerospace engineer and go to Mars. It all depends on her choosing one of these guys.
Yes.
But it seems like that's not really what she wants, though. It seems like it's more like she wants to kind of almost expose the LUFF system. Like she wants to sort of see, okay, how does it all work? What's the missing ingredient? How can I find the chink in the armor?
Yeah. She's like, I'm still like a little bit, I don't know what's going to constitute spoilers or not soon because some of this information has gone out in Fast Pass already.
Ooh.
So there are people who already read it, like some of it, not all of it, some of it.
Why don't we do this then, okay? As a disclaimer, if you haven't read this series, we're going to try and avoid the major milestone spoilers. We'll give a little bit of information, So, but we're going to try and avoid the major things. So if you want to know what happens, you got to read the comic.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. Man, it's just so fresh in my head. That's why I'm like, I want to just like burn out like, this is everything that he's thinking because I just like finally put it down into the comic and like drew it and I'm like, here you go, children. But but I have to be like more, like a little bit more coy. So Beatriz is the kind of person that likes to solve a problem. She's the type of person who likes objective data, who likes like definitive results and stuff. That's why I wanted to make her like a woman of science, because a woman of feelings would have had a very different kind of story. So she is very much fixated in this problem because that's kind of what she's used to do. She sees a problem and she solves it. You can see that also in the way she approaches the boys. Like she sees a problem and she solves with them and she tries to solve it to get closer to them instead of like talking it out or going on a date. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna put chicken wire on your balcony so that your dog doesn't jump out, and I'm gonna like give you pretend that we have so much extra food so you can have food on your table. Like she likes to solve problems, and that's like the way she approaches things. But there is a little bit of a hidden personal motivation to her taking that approach. And the fact is that she is keeping that a secret from everybody, even from Lily. Like in episode 1, there is a little bit of a hint to what the secret might be. But I guess you're going to have to read it to see exactly what's going on.
Where do these characters come from? Because they are so alive. Like I could swear these are people that I would meet in real life. They're so detailed and nuanced.
Oh, thank you. Well, they come from me, from my experiences, from my friends, from my husband, his experiences too. We had a little bit of a different upbringing. Like I had a little bit more of a Daniel upbringing, and he had a little bit more of a Julian upbringing, which ended up doing this really funny thing because when I made Toloa, I made it as a fictional Latin American country that I was making it a mix between Mexico and Venezuela, which are our countries, mine and my husband's countries. And now there are people who read Julian's story and they contact me on Instagram like, hey, you're from Venezuela, right? Because this happens in Venezuela. And I'm like, oh, no, actually. And so I've lived or heard with many people who have had the experiences and the characteristics of the characters that I'm writing. Like Beatriz is very much based on a very close friend of mine. Like her kind of like her fire and her determination and her headstrong and its stubbornness. It's very much a friend of mine that I hold very dear in my heart. Of course, I changed stuff around her and stuff so I could write her, because I can't write my friend, but I know her because she's my friend. And the same with Julian is made of like the feelings of familial love that we Latin American people experience a lot, and is made of very many experiences from young age from my husband. And he's also made of very many male friends that I've had and I've seen grow up in this kind of, because the pressure is also on the guys, only that I didn't experience it because I'm a girl. So they experience it in a different way. Like they have this, for example, there is an episode where Julian makes Bee a bouquet of roses, paper roses. And she's like, wow, you made this? And he's like, yeah, I love to do all this crafty stuff, but I can't do it because I'm a guy. And it's like those kind of experiences that I keep seeing. So like Lily, I do have a friend also who is also like Lily in her personality, like kind of like the mom friend who is very gentle, but also keeps her problems like in the back burner. And then you see the back burner. It's like, oh girl, why am I coming to you for my troubles? Let me help you. And Mauricio, who is like her boyfriend, Lily's boyfriend, it is based on very personal experiences of mine too, is from a time where I used to be very, very silly and carefree, and then I had a really bad experience just like that. So there are different ways of approaching like all these situations. Like you can keep them in your heart and you can cry about them if you want, but you can put them out to something. And I decided that I wanted to use all these experiences and put them into characters, give them names and give them a story, and try to say to people like, here's what happens when real people experience like extraordinary circumstances. Because all this time I've been trying to write characters that are not entirely good or entirely bad, just trying to do their best with what they think they have.
I really want to see Lily get her own series, because her story, where we are at right now, it just has taken a major deviation. I would love to see what comes of that. Mauricio, my heart's breaking for the guy right now. He's like the nicest dude. He's the kind of person that would always help you, I think, without even asking why you need help. He'd be like, whatever you need, dude, I'm there.
Yeah.
Where he is at right now, man, I want to hug him and say, dude, it'll be okay, man. And Julian, he's my favorite.
Nice.
He is, because his relationship with his family, the fact that he keeps an upbeat attitude despite the fact that he's been through the ringer of life. I mean, he had, which home, spoiler for you folks, you got to read the comic to find out. But the fact that he still has a positive attitude and is so kind to people is really telling, I think, of his character.
I often find that people who don't have much are the people who give the most, are the kindest kind of people. I've had friends who haven't had food in their pantries, but they would take their shirt off and give it to me if I needed it. And it's amazing, like how strong people are when they have such needs. I'm glad that I was able to make justice to that with Julian and his family.
The characters that we're reading in the series, are they what you originally started out with, or did they undergo some changes during the creative process?
Oh, well, this is actually very interesting. When I started making the characters and stuff, I was worried that Julian was too interesting and Daniel was too boring. I was not expecting that the readers would be all over Daniel. I was worried. So we were like, what are we going to do? What is his struggle going to be? Because obviously Julian's struggle was like very clear to me from the beginning. And we really had to like work out, like really dive deep into the circumstances and be like, okay, this is what we're going to make. So we spiced Daniel up a little bit, like before starting the comic, from when we conceived the story to where we started it. And also my editor, she had a really good suggestion, because Daniel, he did have his foster animals, like from the beginning, and he did have this love for animals. But he didn't have a pet. And my editor was like, he needs to have a pet because he is too dry at the beginning. People are going to hate him. They need to see that he has a good side. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give him a pet. And we were like, so a dog, right? She was like, a dog. And I was like, I don't know, he's like rich. Maybe he should have like a bougie kind of pet. And we ended up settling for a hyacinth macaw. So Ara, the bird, which is also, Ara is the word for bird. He literally called his bird. Ara was also added later on, in like close to release even. Like there is like a pilot episode and Ara is not in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was like a big change.
You know, Daniel, I gotta be honest, Daniel, I think I kind of caught some of that because, like, Julian, right off the bat, you're kind of like with this guy. You're like, absolutely, man, I'm on your side. And Daniel, it's like, it took me a little while to sort of get him as a person. And I think that's kind of, that may be what you were going for, because he's kind of reserved, he keeps to himself.
Yeah. Like I said, I grew up surrounded by people, kind of like the kind of people that Daniel would be surrounded with. I mean, not that I was rich, but I did have rich family, and I did go to visit them and stuff, and stay with them summers and stuff. So I saw a lot of that kind of people, and they were like, I noticed that kind of people were very reserved in their real life. Like they shared with you like the price of their car, where they went on vacation to, the holidays, or like everything that they can flash their wealth to, like with, but never about their personal life. Never like, what's your favorite movie, or like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite childhood memory, like stuff like that. Even though I kept seeing them like all the time, like people who would be friends, let's say, and they were very, very reserved and very hard to crack into, like to crack open. Of course, once you did, you realize that they are sometimes very lonely people, which is also what I did with Daniel. So I kind of wanted to make him that too. I wanted to make him like a tough exterior and a soft interior, which is why it's funny, but which is why I made him so spiky, like with a spiky chin and spiky like swoop on his hair. And I wanted to make him like kind of unstable, so he's more of a triangle, different from Julian, who is like a square, because he has like a much more solid foundation in his family and stuff. Like, so yeah. Daniel, Daniel is a little bit harder to like, but I see that people who like him are very protective of him too.
Oh yeah, we are definitely in Team Daniel and Team Julian right now. We're definitely in that phase of the story.
Yeah.
The thing I want to ask you about that, though, I'm reading some of the comments, and the fans are reacting so strongly to the recent developments. Did that surprise you that you got such a huge outpouring of different reactions, either for or against certain story changes?
No, I was expecting it. I was dreading it even. Like everybody was everybody was so happy and like so innocent, I want to say. And I just kept thinking like, oh man, when I drop the hammer, this is all going to go off the rails. And yeah, I was expecting it. I wasn't expecting like people to go as far as to like personally message me, like send me DMs on Instagram, like, please don't do this and that and this and that. I'm like, I can't deny or confirm. But yeah, I was expecting, I was kind of dreading it, really.
Yeah. And you have a big audience too. I think I saw it as like 1.2 million subscribers to this story.
Oh, it's so much. I'm so thankful for them. I'm just so thankful that they have given LUFF a chance, that they are enjoying it, that they are making it part of their day. I'm so honored. I feel like I write it so much when people tell me that they like my story, but it hasn't changed. No matter how many times I say it, it hasn't changed. The feeling is there. I'm so flattered and so happy. Like, all those people, I can't even conceive the number. Like, if I try to imagine a million of anything, I can't. I can't thank them enough.
Oh, yeah. I get the notifications usually around like 11 o'clock at night on Monday. So I'm like, oh my God, new episode, read it right now.
Oh, that's so sweet. I have a reader who stays up to 3 a.m. They're like, I'm staying up because they get theirs in their time zone at 3 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, go to sleep.
No, we must know what happens because we're coming like where we're at in the story, folks. Things are happening. A lot is happening really fast. Just boom, boom, boom. Twist, twist, twist. Do you plan your stories out, or do you just sort of go by the seat of your pants and let the imagination take you where it goes?
Oh no, I plan it all. It's all laid out. Like, when I pitched it to Webtoon, I already had the whole thing figured out. Like, of course, we had to, like I said, spice a little bit of stuff, move stuff around, but I did have it planned from the very beginning. I've seen a couple of readers be like, oh, she changed this and that because the readers didn't like it. And I'm like, no, sweet summer child, I already planned all that. I already had everything planned. I'm sorry. So they're like, are you going to change this? Are you going to change that? And I'm like, you don't know what's on my paper. Like, you don't know what's coming. So I've planned it all. I feel like it's better to work like that, to work with a plan. Like, it's ever since, like, I'm that kind of friend ever since, like, I was a kid. The friend that you say, oh, let's go on a weekend trip to this place, and I'm Googling where we're gonna eat, when they open, when they close, if the beach is gonna be open, and I make an itinerary, and I'm like, here you go, this is what we're gonna do. So I take that approach also with like my stories.
Yeah, I think you would have to plan this out. I don't think you could just wing it and have it work out as well as it has.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know some authors do that, and oh my God, I respect it so much, because I know I wouldn't be able to like wing it. Like, I need to know where I'm going so I can plan things, like I said, like I said before, there is the reason behind B's whole thing. There is a clue in episode 1. And you are going to read about it in episode 91. And it's like, I couldn't have done that if I was winging it.
Oh no, definitely not. You'd be going back and forth so many times, changing things and fixing things.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fan input. They request certain things. Has that ever influenced the story in any way?
There is like one little detail that is also kind of spoilery for people, but it's not consequential for the story. I saw someone like, oh my God, what if this was that? And I was like, that's very smart. I think I'm gonna make it official.
If that fan is listening, I hope you're very happy, because your idea made it into the story. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was good. It was a good one. I was like, oh, smart.
Nice. Is it hard to give in to like not give in to suggestion though? Because like you don't necessarily want the fans to control everything. That stops being your story though. Is it hard to kind of just stay true to your path?
No. I know exactly where I want to go, and it's fun to hear like suggestions and to hear theories. And sometimes I see like paths that they want to take or the story wants to take, and I'm like, oh God, please make it a fanfic. I want to read that. But it's not gonna be official. Like, it's like, just make it a fanfic. I would love to read it. But yeah, no, I'm very I am very much set on this because I do have more than a story. It's like a thing I want to say. So I don't want to change my discourse midway because I want to say something. It's more than just a story.
When you first pitched this to Webtoon, how'd you phrase it? I'm curious as to like what your elevator pitch was.
I pitched it as a dystopia dressed as a love story.
Damn, okay. You got my attention. All right.
Yeah, that's what they said too. I was so happy. That was the elevator pitch, let's say. And they were like, okay, I want to hear the rest. So I started telling them about the fingerprints and like what happens with the two of them and how the society was built around it. I sold them the system and then I sold the story.
It's definitely a worst case scenario because I think we kind of wonder, what would like my Tinder history be if like everyone knew it? They knew what like my rating was or my success rate or what have you, because there's some folks who use stuff like that or OkCupid or what have you, and it's like crickets. They get like no reaction from what they do. And the other folks who just like one swipe and boom, they get their plans for the weekend. So it's almost like that kind of comparison there.
Yeah, it's like but imagine if the government like put its stinky hands into it and on top of it, like that's
God no.
Yeah, that's like the extra mile because you can say it's already messy with just people, but imagine if the government were like, let me get a piece of that, let me get that info, like let me do something with that info.
Oh geez. And I love how they refer to like the American Empire in the story. That gets mentioned a couple times, like the American Empire. Wow, okay. Is that where we go?
That's so funny because that's how you can tell when someone is not Latin American. Because the Latin American socialists refer to the United States as the American Empire.
Really?
Yeah, like in real life. Like if you hear a speech from like Maduro, the president of Venezuela, you hear all the time like the American Empire, this and that, and it's like, So I used exactly that line to kind of like signal, to send a secret message signal to my Latin American people, like, hey, this guy, he might have a point at some point in some of the stuff he says, but he's not the good guy. He's not a good guy. Kind of like that.
Were there any other aspects of your culture, your upbringing that kind of made it into the story?
Well, yeah, it's funny. There's a lot, obviously, because it's in Latin America. But one of the things that not many people know, and it was really fun, like I saw one user on Twitter figure it out and go insane. I was like, yeah, finally, someone caught it. It's like the name of the country. So... Because in Mexico, and I would say in all of Latin America, people very much believe in magic and like the supernatural and all that stuff. Like it's a very normal thing to believe in that, like wholeheartedly. So there are people in Mexico who are like witches and like they offer their services in like you go to a market and you see like a witch selling potions and it's like she's next to like the fruit seller and like the butcher, like it's the most normal thing you can think about. And there is this flower that people use on their love potions, and the flower is called Toloache. And so I called it Toloa for Toloache, the flower that forces other people to fall in love, because that's how the potion works. You supposedly go and get your powder, it's a powder, and you sneak it into the food of your loved one, and he is supposed, or she is supposed to fall in love with you. So you're kind of like forcing them to fall in love. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna call the country that.
My mind is exploding right now, actually, with all like, what if the whole thing is one giant magic spell that a witch placed on the country to control them?
Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be a hell of a twist.
The big twist, LUFF is actually, the president of LUFF is actually a witch. Oh my god, I would love to read that fanfic.
It's all Beatriz. It's all her doing. Her magical manipulation is taking over an entire country.
Oh, that would be such a good fanfic, though. I would read that.
Someone get to work on that. Write that fanfic, please.
Yeah, please. If you're listening and you're like, yes, I want to read that too, please write it.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. Oh, wow. I want to talk about art now, because the art in this series is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
I was blown away when I first started reading this. Like, the art is so... it's amazing. Words fail me completely. But I'm wondering, are you self-taught as an artist?
Yes, I am self-taught. When I was, it's funny because when I was a kid, like I didn't know how to write yet, but I was already making comics. Like I had like notebooks full of little comics with like not even stickman. I used to like make them a little bit thicker. Like I really like I really like to read comics, but I used to live in a very small town. So we didn't have like a comic shop, designated comic shop. Sometimes magazine shops would bring one comic or other, and I would like buy them out of order and read whatever I could get my hands into. And so I started, of course, like copying and trying to draw my own things and I'm talking like everything. Like I was a big Green Lantern fan when I was like a kid, for example. But then like there was this really big anime boom in Mexico. Like public television started showing a lot of anime. Like just out of nowhere, they just started licensing all this anime. And I grew up with that kind of aesthetic. Like I was like, oh, maybe I can't draw Hal Jordan because he's like all muscular and shaded and stuff. But maybe I can draw Sailor Moon because her shapes are easier to draw. So I started going with Sailor Moon and like Ranma and Half and all those animes that they were showing in screens. So I started drawing, and then when the internet like started becoming more of a community, I was like, oh my god, other people are drawing too, and they're sharing their art. And then they started like picking, like, oh, I like that style, and I like that style. I want to draw like that. And I started learning. And man, the internet is such a good tool, like to learn. Like you don't have to go to art school to see like practice like gesture drawing or to learn about like contrast and shapes and stuff. So you can say that the internet taught me how to draw, along with me starting to copy like all the things that I saw on TV and the comics that I read.
I can definitely see the anime influence too with like, the way you draw. I could definitely get that. And I actually had that same experience growing up. You know, we got anime in the US, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, then Pokemon, and so forth, and I gobbled all that up.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really interesting because like media, and that was kind of like where I started to crave for more complicated media, because I was used to like normal not let's say normal, let's say American cartoons. I was used to seeing like reruns of Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones and all that stuff that they used to put on like public television in Mexico, and I was used to the storylines that were like, something happens and then it's back to the status quo. So you could watch it out of order and it was like no problem. But then all this Japanese cartoons started coming, and it was like storylines and plot and like complicated relationships between characters and stuff. And let me tell you, Latin America did not censor anything that literally anything that the anime had. So we were like Sailor Moon like was naked on screen like I don't know like 4 times or something, and I didn't think about it. And like Uranus and Neptune were lovers, and I didn't think of anything about it, and like stuff like that. I just kept thinking like, wow, this all these stories are so complex and so interesting. Like I want to consume this kind of content. I want to make this kind of content. Like I was like, I'm done with silly, fluffy, status quo respecting stuff. And I started leaning more towards that.
I could dedicate an entire episode to the American editing of Japanese anime. It's a long list, but we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about you here.
Sorry.
What was your first foray into doing webcomics?
Okay, so I was just like everybody else that has like the one story in their head, and they're like, one day I'm gonna make a story about this, and and I never did because everything was happening in my life, and I was just putting it off, and usually I kept putting it off with things like, oh, I'm not good enough yet, oh, I don't have like the experience with storytelling as good as it needs to be and stuff. And I think that's mostly what was keeping me from doing it. But I kept finding like all these different excuses, like, oh, well, there is not a centralized like webcomic thing, because many webcomics have their own pages or have like groups that they belong to with similar themes, but it's like you have to apply to be there and stuff, and it's kind of like shooting your shot in the middle of the sea and hoping that someone will see it. But then I found Webtoon. I remember I found Webtoon, and I saw all of these comics like in a single place from different authors, and I was like, wow, there is an actual platform where you can do this. And I felt a little bit more confident on that. Like I wasn't going to just stand on a mountain and scream. I was going to have a little bit of a chance to reach somebody. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to make my comic. And let me tell you, the art of my first comic is very rough. I was indeed not ready to make it. It's very different to make illustration than to make comic. You have to think about a lot of stuff, like the sequence, the camera, the feeling of it, the takes. And it was stuff that I was not equipped to do yet because I hadn't learned it. But I started learning thanks to friends who were like very kind with me, who explained me stuff, people in the comments leaving me like, oh, hey, like that is not the way you hold a bow, for example. Or like, I have a friend who lives in Argentina, and she studied for movie making, cinematography, and she was like, you know, you want to use this kind of shot for this kind of scene, and you don't want to break this rule, and you want to, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking notes. And thank God, Webtoon saw my comic. I started uploading it in the Canvas platform. Back then it was called Discover. And they saw it and they were like, let's give this girl a chance. And they sent me an email and they were like, hey, would you like to be a featured creator? And I was like, well, yeah, of course, thank you. And that's how I started. Like, I knew that I had to see it through now that someone had faith in me, that someone had believed in me. Like, I couldn't let them down, so I gave it my all. I studied with my friends, like on calls, like, do you see this? Is this good? Is this bad? And I started growing, and I think it shows. Like, if you see the first episode and you see the last episode of my first webcomic, I think you can see the growth, even with LUFF, because I try to continue to do the same. I try to continue to ask them questions to people who I know who have the information that I need, or feedback from my friends who are also professionals and stuff. So I think my experience with webcomics has been one of growth, really, and community. Like, it might seem like a very lonely job because you're the only one making it, but not really, because you have all these people who are cheering on you, who are willing to help you, who are giving you feedback, and you can learn and grow together.
Do you feel that you're still learning as either an artist or a writer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like recently I have hired an assistant, and they teach me a lot too about coloring and about stuff. Like they tell me like, oh, it's faster if you do it like this, and I'm like, oh, where have you been? or or stuff like that. Or like I also have friends who I have a friend who loves watching movies, and sometimes I tell her my script first, and I'm like, please tell me you haven't seen anything like this before, or please tell me that you understand this character's motivations. And they're like, oh yeah, or they give me like pointers, maybe like, oh, maybe you want to mention this because in the last episode this other thing happened and stuff. And of course my editor also is there. She sometimes is like, this doesn't read right because blah 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 blah, and I'm here taking notes like, yes, okay, I'm gonna keep on learning. Because you must have seen the insane work like my peers put out in Webtoons. Like, it's amazing. Like, these people, I have so much respect for them. They put like so much work and it shows, and they're so good. And I think we're all learning from each other, you know?
Yeah, I really love the community that Webtoon has created because, like you said, it's number one, a chance for your work to get out there in front of a crowd of millions. And it's like, oh, you like this, you should also check out this one or this one or that one. So I'm always getting all these new recommendations. So I love that as a consumer, I'm exposed to all these new kinds of stories. And I like that as an artist, people like yourselves are getting the chance to appear before that wider audience.
Yeah, I think Webtoon coming to the West, because they were already a platform, I think, in Korea for like years. I think that they coming to the West has been like a blessing for the webcomic community in general. Like, I think the landscape right now is so different, so welcoming, and so like together. Like, maybe not only on Webtoon, there is also other apps, but the thing is that you can find now other artists, and you can get to know their work and find your next favorite like author, your next favorite story, much more easy than before.
What are some of the comics you're reading right now?
Whew, let's see. There is this webtoon on Sundays called Blood Ink. It's like action, and I love it. It's about like it's about a country where assassination was made legal. So now there are literally assassin agencies, and like you have to have a license, and there are like conspiracy and the government and all the stuff that I really like. And the art is really good too. It's like my style too. Like this vibrant colors, like so saturated and alive, and the action is so good, and you don't see where it's going, and then it gets there, and it's like, whoa! I'm also reading Space Boy. Space Boy is kind of older right now. It's like past the hundreds of episodes, and I've been reading it from the beginning. It's beautiful. The art is stunning. The way they use the vertical format is amazing. It's this really cute story, like about like, well, I don't want to spoil anything. It's just, let's just say it's this really cute story about a girl and a boy in space, and it's really good. It's really good. I'm also reading like a couple in Canvas. Like, I'm reading Luminos, which is a magical girl story, but it's like, it has like a twist, and the art is like so cute. Like, I really like colors, and these colors are like pastel-y and cute and glowy. And I'm reading Enjoy the Show also, which is also on Canvas, and it's really good, like more down to earth. You know, the characters, I love that the characters are very human too. Like, they feel like people that I could meet, and I like that a lot. Of course, I'm reading the big ones that everybody's reading. I'm reading Lower Olympus. I'm reading freaking romance. I'm reading my deepest secret. I'm reading. Yeah, I could go on forever.
I feel like I might have missed a memo because I'm reading none of these right now. I'm reading like all these other titles.
Really?
I am, of course, I am reading Let's Play. I'm hooked on that one. Girls Have a Blog, one of my favorites. I think it was actually the first one I read when I signed up for Webtoon. Not Even Bones.
Oh yeah,
so
Not Even Bones.
Good. Oh my god, that is
God.
messed up, but good.
The art and the coloring, it's like the ambience. Oh my god. Not Even Bones. Yeah, don't get me started.
So good. Immortal Weakling. I'm hooked on that one. That one's got me snagged.
I haven't started that one. I'm gonna check it.
Yeah, I feel like we should both be like making lists now, the different series to like check out here.
Yeah, like a recommendation, like Venn diagram, and see what we need, see what we're missing.
Exactly. Do you feel that you learn a lot from your fellow artists, and if so, what are some of the tips you've kind of gotten from them?
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot. We have a Discord group, so where we share like our process, our tips, and we share like panels, and we're like, give me some feedback on this because I'm not feeling it, and people are like, giving their different points of view, and I've learned like from everything from how to speed up my process to like how long an episode should be or how to build a better cliffhanger. Like we had a discussion about that at some point. We share resources like, hey, I made this really cool brush. Here you go, guys. You can have it too. Stuff like that. It's great. It's great. It feels like we're out having a drink and just like exchanging notes, even though we're all in different parts of the world. It's been like, I think I've learned more from them than from me studying on my own with the internet.
Now, I know that Webtoon tends to make the rounds a lot of the Comic-Cons, and they'll bring some of their different artists with them to meet the fans. Have you had the chance to meet any of the fans face-to-face?
No, I haven't. I was supposed to go to Los Angeles Comic-Con this year, and Miss Coronavirus said no. And I was so excited. I already had the Airbnb. I was like about to buy the tickets, and it was like, no, let's put everything on hold and see if it gets better. This was back in March. I had so much hope that this would clear up and I would meet everybody at Los Angeles Comic Con, but cons are canceled.
Here's hope for 2021.
Yeah, I hope to meet some of you guys then.
Are you working on a new title, or maybe putting the foundation for one?
Yes, I actually am. It's again going to be based in Latin America because I want to tell a story there. And this one is more close to like, this one's, I don't know what I can spoil it not.
Maybe just like a little bit, a tiny bit.
It's another girl lead, and it's going to be more actiony. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's what I can tell you. I can promise you that it's going to be the kind of fun that you like to like swoop, just fly over the comic. Like, whoa, I'm having so much fun. Oh, it's over.
Excellent. What makes a strong female lead?
I think a little bit of a controversial opinion, but I think that every woman is strong. I think that we are dealt a very complicated deck of cards by being burn girls. We have a lot of societal expectations on us. We have a lot of things and opinions put on us from very young ages. And I think every woman has gotten to their place where they are by fighting them. Because, like, I can tell you, it's a very interesting experience seeing the same kind of expectations and stuff reflected on the comments would be. My last comic, I had two boys protagonists, and they did a lot of mistakes. And I'm talking like hard on getting people killed mistakes. And I never saw like too much hostility towards them. They were like, "Oh no, you made a mistake, my baby." But but now that it's a girl, I see all the expectations like by 1,000. I see like she's not girly enough, or why is she making this mistake? Why is she not perfect? That's basically it. Like, why is she not perfect? And I think that is something that every woman lives with. Like, you go you walk out of your house, and sometimes even inside your own house, and it's like, why are you not perfect? Like, and the bad thing is that everybody has a different image of perfection in their head, so you can never really fulfill the expectations of everybody. So I personally think that every woman is strong. I only think that when they say that the character is not a strong female lead, is usually because it's not being written by a woman. And I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't, in the same way that I wouldn't be able to write a good story of something I did not experience. I think that's more or less what happens with females being written by, let's say, a guy who thinks they know their wives or their kids, and they say, "Oh yeah, I can write something like that," and they don't have to live with it. And yeah, I think that as long as you write a character woman who feels real, that's how you know that she's strong, because every woman, in my opinion, is a strong woman in the real world.
I definitely see that reflected a lot in the comic, because you have the different female characters, Beatriz, Lily, Caro. They're all going through the different struggles, and they all deal with it in different ways. And I definitely see the power that each one of them brings to the table. And in some cases, it's not solving it with like, yeah, smash, bam, knock out the problem in one shot. Sometimes it is stumbling, but they do eventually get to the point where they are okay.
Yeah.
And I definitely see it with the response in the comments. We've hit some major turning points in the story. And when people are saying like, oh, what Beatrice did with this or that, I'm definitely seeing the high standard she is being held to.
Yes, but I think that's mostly with like girl characters. Like, I'm not gonna say names, but there is another author in Webtoon who is having the same trouble, and it's insane because her character, like, there's just one character that appeared for like 7 panels, and it's already getting hate. Like, oh, she's a bitch, and it's like, she only talked for 7 panels about work. And it's like, no, she's a bitch. How dare she? Blah, blah, blah. Because standards for women in stories and in real life are really high. So that's why I said that every woman is strong, because to continue to be yourself and to continue to do your own thing, even though people hold you to whatever standard they may have, is what makes you strong.
Do you think there's a message in LUFF for the people to be taking home?
Yes, there are a lot of messages that I am putting there. Some of them I've been trying to be sneaky about. Some of them that I want them to literally take are being said literally by the characters in future episodes. Like, there are a lot of things that I do want to say with LUFF, which is mainly why I don't let myself be swayed by the readers and their expectations. I am happy if they are taking like the fun of it only. I am happy if they are only taking the art, or if they only like one thing or the other. I am happy. I am grateful that they have given me the chance and their time. But I do hope that they can take what I have to give, that they can take the message that I'm trying to give out. But ultimately, stories belong to the readers. That's what I believe. And one person can interpret one message one way or the other. It is my hope that they can walk out of LUFF with a change of heart, with something new.
Very well said. Well, Arechan, thank you so much for joining me. I have really loved this.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, of course. For the folks at home who want to learn more about you, who want to follow the story, what's the best way to connect with you?
I do have social media. I have my Instagram and I have my Twitter. In both of the username is Arecanga, ARECHANGA. And that's where I post the most. I'm not 24/7 in it because I'm working all the time, but I do check it like at the end of the day or like sometimes in the mornings. So if you do want to send me a message, you can do it there. Usually with the DMs, it's a little bit harder because I have to swim the messages in the DMs. But if I see a comment, let's say, and I feel like I can answer it without compromising the story, I will.
Folks, you heard it here first. Check out LUFF. Get Webtoon. It's totally free. Put it on your phone, your tablet. Read it on your PC. So many great comics. Support the artists always. Arechan, thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Hi, this is singer Kate Eppers, and you're listening to Citywide Blackout.
Picture this. You finished your first book and nailed it. The plot, the characters, all the twists and turns. This one's a winner, and all you need is the right cover. If you've got my art skills, this is the part where panic usually sets in. Enter the cover villain, hero to writers everywhere. Founded by noted author Remy Flagg, Cover Villain focuses on composite image covers for science fiction and fantasy writers. Give them the details, and they'll craft a cover using popular trends that everyone will want to see. But wait, you say, I've got ideas of my own. No problem, as Cover Villain loves a good collaboration. As they say, our goal is to put a little villain in every cover we make. Want to know more? Then head to covervillain.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Alright folks, that brings this episode to a close. You can follow the show on Facebook under Citywide Blackout and Twitter and Instagram under Citywide Max. Listen to the show on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Amazon Music, and every Saturday at 10 p.m. on Boston Free Radio. As always, keep those ears open.